the Republic of Zimbabwe, Honorable Minister of Community Development, Social Services of the Republic of Zambia, diplomatic corps, members from different heads of states, ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, the learners here today, good evening. My name is Alan Pietres, and I'm a representative for Namibia. Today, we celebrate World Children's Day. We celebrate a day where all 4 countries, which are Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, come together to unite and to speak on, raise awareness on issues that are affecting the youth and to allow the youth to voice up and allow their leaders to give their point of views and perspective on what they're going to do next. In Namibia, the Disability Census Report of 2016 indicated that children, adolescents, and young people between 0 to 19 years represent the majority of persons with disability at 29%, which is 28,574 out of 98,413. According to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, it defines living with disability as having a long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairment that in interaction with the environment hinders one's participation in society on an equal basis with other learners. Children with disabilities are faced with a long term of barriers that limit them to carry out their day-to-day functions. For example, we can take a look at physical barriers. The education system has 4 main goals, and 2 of them that I will be focusing on will be equity and quality of education. Mr. Moderator, unemployment is one of the leading factors among the youth, not only in Namibia, but in Botswana, in Zambia, in Zimbabwe, and all over the world. Not to forget that among this unemployed youth, disabled people are also included. So I would like to know and hear from my president, Dr. Hage Geingob, as well as the other presidents and the Honorable Minister, what they have done or what plans do they have to make sure that disabled youth are included in job opportunities. His Excellency, Dr. Hage Geingob, the year 2024 is going to be declared as the year of education in Africa by AU, the African Union. And we want our children living with disabilities to be able to finish their primary schooling, secondary schooling, as well as their tertiary level or education. I would like to hear from our president, what is the president going to do to leave a legacy for the Namibian children with disabilities? Mr. President, the Namibian government took a decision last year to increase the grant for orphans and vulnerable children and children living with disabilities from 350 Namibian dollars to 1,400 Namibian dollars, which is 4 times an increase to this amount. This is really commendable. How else can we support children with disabilities to maximize their potentials and to be able to carry out their functions fully as disabled learners and not to be discriminated and stigmatized? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Alan Pietres. He wants to hear from our president what the president have in mind for the children of Namibia. Thank you, Mr. Alan Pietres. His Excellency, Dr. Hage Geingob, please.
Hello. Your Excellency, my brother MASISI from Botswana, and others, the Minister and Vice President representing presidents from Zimbabwe and Zambia. First of all, let me say, welcome to Namibia. The governor was welcoming you to this small town, but I'm welcoming you to Namibia. What you have just mentioned yourself is that Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa, I think, are the countries who are ahead when you think of social safety nets. As you said, we have all kinds of grants, not only to disabled children, but to children, to people who are disabled, to also those who are unemployed, and so on. Our best is that grant a person education. If you educate a person, you are empowering that person to help themselves tomorrow. So the education. And therefore, with education, we open up the doors after independence, because some children were used to look after cattle. We stopped that, and we said they must go to school. That success of sending children to school has turned out to be our problem also, because we have now put many through the school, but they couldn't get jobs. So again, now we have a crisis of unemployment. So success became a problem. And therefore, what we have to do is, for our Namibian people, like other countries in West Africa and so on, to also become their own job creators. Government is to provide conducive environment in which the children or people who are now grown up. You see, at one point you are saying you are the leader. You are saying not leaders of tomorrow, today, but you are crying to me now. Huh? You see, that's a problem. Let's be realistic. You are now sitting, you're supposed to lecture me. Because you are saying you are leader today, not tomorrow. I'm saying you are leader of tomorrow. But you're saying, no, today. Now you are asking me questions now. So, so he's admitting I'm the today's leader. And he may become leader tomorrow, which I'm grooming him now to do. But definitely, Namibia cannot be found at fault when it comes to taking care of disabled people. We can do more. Nothing is perfect. And also education. The biggest chunk of our budget goes to education. But the results are not commensurate with that money we are spending on education. So teacher training has to be improved on, because we were trying to get new education system that you don't just have a child to parrot, memorize things and spit it out, but child-centered education. And also where you can have education throughout the year and exams, throughout the year evaluation. Not the final examination only. Supposing I'm sick that day, you have exam, I will fail. So continuous education was introduced. But what we have done is not to train the teachers. We were in a hurry. So what was meant to be really a modern way of having education, that the child-centered education is the key, instead of lecturers standing there and letting them memorize things. Example, I was a teacher myself too, by the way, long time ago. And one day we were trying to ask a child in a class, 2 times 2 is 4. Then we said, 2 times 4 is 8. I said, give me 2 times 4 cows in these scrolls. That person couldn't do it because they memorized 2 times 4. But to give you actual cows, how many they are, they couldn't do that. That means they were just memorizing things and spitting them out. They're trying to therefore have a child-centered education, that you just help them. Like Socrates was saying, by interviewing people, talking, they know, help them just to bring out what they already know. So that's the idea of modern education. For the disabled, when we took over government, you go to the State House. You will see we are providing entry, what is it, for the wheelchair. So allow them to at least come into all the buildings. If you look at all the old buildings, there is nothing like that. So what we are building, and some old buildings we have to amend them so they can be user-friendly for those who are disabled. Yes, disability is not disability. It's not disability. It's not a disability. Yeah, but disability. It's not a disability. Inability. Yes, it's not inability, but we cannot deny they need special skills and special assistance. And that's what we have to do. What we are saying is not a disability. We must recognize that they need there are certain needs for them because of their condition. And they differ. And Namibian government is ready, committed to do that, because if you look at our budget, social safety nets are definitely not. I mean, Botswana, South Africa, I'm told, are also trying to catch up with us. And we'll do that. So on that note, I would just like to again end here and tell you, all of you, we call you children, but at the same time we know that you have grown up, you are the leaders of today or tomorrow. What we are doing here of 3 countries, 4 countries is unbelievable. We must recommend that this exercise is spread out throughout Africa. Because when you are coming, the way you are coming here, spend few days here, you come to learn, to know each other. We are building African unity through you, because you are the future leaders or today's leaders. I don't have trouble from you, so I will say today's leaders. But in my old way of thinking, you are tomorrow's leader. Because you are asking me questions. If you are today's leader, how do you ask me questions? So I'm telling my brother here, he is tomorrow's leader. That's why he's asking his uncle here to help him for questions. Therefore, I answered them in a way I could. But please, 4 countries, let's continue this practice. The president of Botswana, my brother, you started it, and I was there. It was beautiful. But I'm telling you, we must expand it maybe, so that already we talk about African unity, not dreaming about African unity. You are the future, you are the today's leaders, but tomorrow you are going to be in offices. Therefore, when you are groomed like this, you'll understand holding hands of our fellow Africans and harambeing in the same direction. Because there are some are laughing at it, but you see, we have different ethnic groups in Namibia. And I'm always striving for unity. So if I had chosen my language, click language, how many of you could have pronounced to say, let's pull in the same direction? So I took a Swahili word where nobody cannot feel left out. Because my theory is also, no one must feel left out. No one, disabled, whatever, no one must feel left out of Namibian house. So if I had taken Herero or one language, somebody could have felt left out. Therefore I said harambe. It's a Swahili word. And Swahili doesn't belong to anybody. So therefore, let's all of us harambe in the same direction.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. We are grateful for the response we got from His Excellency, Dr. Hagegengo. He is aware of the children's challenges. He promised to do more, if I understood him very well. And patience will get there. Thank you. We are going to ask Ulanado from Botswana to do the presentation to His Excellency Dr. MASISI.
Good evening, everyone. Protocol has highly been observed. My name is Miss Una Ludo Masero Isaac, but everyone could call me Una since it's much easier. So today is an awesome day. Even I'm excited. I have goosebumps just thinking that I'll be speaking and representing not just our country, but all the children we've met today. So today I'll be deliberating what we were able to discuss concerning our children and what more information we got from the other children within Namibia. So first I would like to acknowledge the government, my government from Botswana, their contribution, because I am a benefactor of the free education that they provide for all children in Botswana. I would like to appreciate their efforts in making internet connectivity in public schools. I don't deny that I am from a public school and I am also a benefactor of the government's efforts. So can we appreciate our government? The provision of laptops and tablets to all senior secondary schools, efforts to protect children from violence by providing us with child-friendly services, stations and training responsible officers to handle our cases, like the Iseng Mongwaneng campaign. These are efforts that we as children of Botswana, we recognize the power and the strength, the efforts that are shown by our government. However, there are a few things that we need to double our efforts to address education. What we've been talking about is inclusive education, whereby we do not want, we want a quality education, an education that is non-discriminatory. We had sessions here in Namibia. We were able to engage with children living with disability. And it's similar to what we've been facing, because we have children also living with disability in our country. It's everywhere now. But it's not a problem, because now we're finding solutions to the problems we've been raising. First, I would like to start with the outdated curriculum that does not respond to the needs of the learners and does not cater for the vision of a knowledge-based economy. What His Excellency has been reaching out about the campaign of us moving to a more knowledge-based economy. We as children want to learn innovative ways, innovative topics that will help us to teach us the skills that we'll use to gain success. It's not everything that we learn that we'll use in the future or in our life, But it is good to not leave our history behind. Many children have been debating and talking about this issue, that we want to choose the subject that will lead us to the path we want. We've been debating on the issue because we know that we are young, sometimes we're naive, maybe we take things out of control because we're given an opportunity to say something. But nevertheless, we still thrive and push to be heard and to be engaged. Like right now, we're being engaged by not just our president, but all the honorables, the dignitaries right here present. The education system is not inclusive. It focuses on academic and core subjects without accommodating practical, vocational, and art subjects. We already know that as children, we have our weaknesses and our strengths, that we are either academically gifted or, powerful in the hands. So we have different strengths and we want to nurture it. But our curriculum does not allow us to go through that path. So we are still advocating, we're still requesting, and will continue requesting until our voices are heard, that we'll get a chance to choose the subject that will lead us or improve our own strengths and help us to be better. Most teachers do not have the capacity to respond to the needs of the modern day learner. We have been launching a campaign about mindset change and introducing the 21st century learner. This is whereby we've been provided with laptops, all these gadgets, everything that is moving through technology. But for now, we have not been able to exercise and execute the plans that the government has already produced for us. So we would like a change, just like we were told by His Excellency with the campaign of Archenche. We actually want to change as well, and we want the way we do things to change. There's inadequate education materials making learning very difficult for children to learn, and hence in some areas, the education results are very poor. We have different reasons to back our failures in education. We always either want to blame the government, or the teacher, or the parent, but never saying what did we go wrong, how did we get to this point. So as we want to change our mindset and we want to have an education that's not just inclusive, but quality education, that wherever you are in the country, you receive the same resources, same information, they benefit the same way as children living either in the city or in rural areas, that there shouldn't be such a great difference like it is right now. EFA has also celebrated this milestone, this great milestone in the internet connectivity. This has come with its own challenges. As much as we bring solutions, more problems arise. So we continually have to tackle and battle the situation. So from all the internet access that we've been given, we still have a problem of online grooming, whereby children are now prone to being harassed, being engaged by different people, different personals, within the country and outside the country. So these can lead to child trafficking. Many children are now accessing certain sites, uncensored sites, whereby they visit porn sites and violent games, which does not support our mental health. There's a lot of cyberbullying, which has been a huge trend since the pandemic of COVID-19, since most of us were relying on our gadgets to be able to communicate and attend lessons. And nevertheless, we still acknowledge the efforts being done. But what we have is the situation now that there is a problem, there is cyberbullying, it's alive, and there's a lot of children who have fallen victim and prey to the situation. We always talk about creating spaces for children, but we don't even feel safe at our own homes because of poor parenting. There's a lot of child negligence, which exposes us to abuse, especially sexual abuse. There are many arising cases, not just in our nation and in our neighboring nations, where cases of rape, cases of sexual abuse are prevalent even up till date. as much as there are many campaigns campaigning against the situation, we still see it escalating each and every single day. I know that the situation in our nation is rising, and we know the government is making efforts to mitigate this issue. The perpetrators are usually those close relatives to us. I always look with envy of how our police deliberate in arresting people who steal cows. They even have an operation called COMMEMORATION. This basically supports, or it's like a unit, whereby cases about cattle, stock theft, they have everything ready. If anything goes wrong, there's always a team ready to go and solve the issue. But what about us children? But what about us children? We don't have our own unit. We don't have our own department that just says, when an issue is there, go. Usually there's a lot of delay. There's usually a long story before anything could be done. Where is Mwanakumo? We want to see the offenders being arrested, given long jail time, like those who steal cattle. We appreciate and we acknowledge that cattle is valuable in our nation. But we as well, we would like to be seen more valuable than the cattle itself. As we talk about Mwanakumo, I will not disdain or dismay my people, because I'm also a product of the government's initiatives. Because currently, I am the chairperson of the National Children's Consultative Forum, which has been established from the Act of 2009, which is part of the Constitution, that this body that serves as the child parliament should be established. And our government is clearly supporting us, and we believe we need more of these initiatives, more of the support that you are continually giving us. There are high rates of unwanted pregnancies, which expose us to HIV and many others. There are a lot of high-rising cases of HIV and AIDS, because many children seem to not fear HIV, but seem to fear the stigma of being pregnant. So these are cases and situations that we are facing as young children. In Botswana, corporal punishment is normalized and permitted, and children are calling for a national dialogue to end this, as it is no longer viewed as a deterrent by children. This is still a debate for us children. Even when we had our own mock parliament, we didn't come to a conclusion, because many of us, the majority of the children, have opted that corporal punishment should be abolished, and the other are still against. So this is what we're facing. Now we see what takes so long for our parents, for our adults to take the decision. All these things affect our mental health. Everything that we have said already shows that our mental health is not engaged. But nevertheless, as we're being affected, we have seen the efforts being made by our government. So our recommendations is that we reform the education curriculum. We build teacher capacity to respond to our needs. Let there be trained personnel to help us in different situations. Introduce mental health programs in schools and hire mental health professionals. Abolish corporal punishment or have a national conversation on this practice. Stiffer punishment for perpetrators of violence against children. Ensure that children from poor families are not left behind. With these few words, Archenche, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Una. I'm glad that the president himself is here and that he's going to address the presentation. It's a tough one. I saw him putting away the notebook because the notes that he may have made is not going to work anymore. Yeah, thank you, sir. Dr. Masisi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Your Excellency, Dr. Gengob, Your Honor, the Vice President and Honorable Minister, ministers from Namibia and the region, the Regional Director of UNICEF, ambassadors and other diplomats, senior government officials, or the governor, our host, and my very dear panelists and children, a very good evening. First, let me accept the welcome from the governor and a special welcome from His Excellency, my dear brother, who I look up to so much, Dr. Hage Gengob, for welcoming us not just to Walvis Bay, but to Namibia. Thank you very much. And the children and the entertainers, Yvonne Chaka Chaka, and you know, the music. It's a delight to be back home from home. So thanks for welcoming us. I'm glad Dr. Gengob, in his response, talked to where we started as leaders of the 4 countries. They sometimes say there are 3 musketeers. We were the 4 musketeers in Kazungula. And I'm really glad that this has continued. Immediately after Kazungula, we went to Zambia. And now we're here in Namibia, and next year, we're in Zimbabwe. President Gengob has asked that we expand this. I readily endorse that, Dr. Gengob, that we need to expand this network of a compact and a dialogue between heads of state and their children. So we're going to talk as we're talking. And I'm glad Una, she's made some powerful statements. President Gengob said they are the leaders of tomorrow or today. I've given my file to her. She can lead for tonight, as she's shown to be very competent. But let me just share with you Botswana's story. And in sharing Botswana's story, I'll be responding to some of the issues she raised, but I'll also be throwing back some of those issues to you, children, because this is a partnership. The role of any government, and certainly the role of the governments of the region, is to provide the framework of governance that makes sure you are safe to begin with, particularly the children. And safety is not just physical safety, it's safety from ill health. It's safety from emotional instability. It's safety from hunger. It's safety from any form of contamination or deterrence to your growth. But we go beyond safety. We provide the fertilizer for your growth. Clean air, clean water, food, right, clothing, medicines, happiness, and moral well-being, values. The role of any government is to increase the rate at which you take in, are able to process and utilize things you learn. So you go to school, you go to the gym, you know, you learn certain skills in ways that will make you productive. And sure, I concede, what we all inherited from our colonial masters were education systems that taught us to be like what was supposed to be the best in society. Speak well, read well, and dress well, and behave well. very elitist. But that on its own does not necessarily provide the food, doesn't provide the furniture, doesn't provide the mobility, doesn't provide the resources to drive an economy. What we also inherited were very underdeveloped economies, very narrow-based economies, no industries or very little industries. And therefore, the number of those who had jobs was very small. And so the capacity of that economy to employ people was basically limited to most of the jobs, if there were jobs, being available at very low levels, minimal skill, and limited to the economy, which would be agrarian or agricultural, underdeveloped agricultural. So what many of us did was we wanted to take people out of that condition and teach them things that would make them progress. So fast that we poured a lot of money into education, all of us. And when we poured money into education, we built schools, infrastructure. People came in, but the jobs were not available at primary. Then we rose up to junior secondary. We packed the schools. When they left junior secondary, the jobs were also still in short supply. Senior secondary, and now at university, we all have problems of unemployed graduates. And not just graduates, people with master's degrees and some with PhDs not finding jobs because our economies are very narrow-based. Why are they narrow-based? Because we've relied a lot on producing primary goods, primary resources, commodities, copper, nickel, iron ore, you name it, timber. Very little processing of those. And that's why in the Republic of Botswana, we talk of a knowledge-based economy. But for us to get to a knowledge-based economy, you need a mindset change. And when I say you, I mean all of us, myself included, my ministers, the pastor, the nurse, the doctor, the engineer, the parent, the adolescent. Why do we also need a mindset change? We need to make sure that we begin to acquire skills in ways that will result in the opportunities of jobs growing. So what does that mean? It means you need to learn skills that are not apparently available. You need to learn skills that will make you produce the things that many young people of the world like. You like cell phones, isn't it? You love cell phones. You also like smartphones, don't you? But you particularly like the applications of the smartphones, right? How many of you in your schools learn how to produce a smartphone or to develop applications? And that's why you say our curriculum is not relevant, right? So a smart economy, a knowledge-based economy, demands that we adjust that curriculum to fit what the global economy needs. Now, what we are trying to do in Botswana is we're trying to provide the infrastructure and the architecture, the framework for that to be. So we're digitizing so fast you can't even keep up with it. We're providing free high-speed internet in all schools. But free high-speed internet is not only in schools, it's in all health facilities and in all community meeting centers, the quotas, the community governance centers. But we are also providing the network across the country, which will result in a logical step being providing network connectivity to the homes. But it's not enough. We need to provide the gadgets for those who are captive in the schools to be able to communicate. And that's why we're providing, starting with senior secondary, laptops to all your teachers, laptops to all the students, and we're now getting to junior secondary, laptops. We will then get to primary. Laptops is not just for the learners, it's also for all the teachers and the administration, those who supervise the teachers. Now, to really grow the knowledge-based economy, we have structured and developed industries related that are independent of other countries. So we produce these laptops in Botswana by Botswana. We produce student-friendly and student-proof laptops. So you can drop it from as high as 10 meters. It won't break. I'm not suggesting you are violent to laptops. I'm just suggesting sometimes the laptop slips. I get it, isn't it? The laptop slips, right? But we're producing those, and we're developing an industry so that some of you who are keen on this can also get into that. But we're producing them with such level of skill and proficiency that they are competitive globally in price and in quality. That grows an economy. We're not only producing laptops, we're also producing the applications. And we're hosting places for innovators so that when you have your hackathons that you organize, you can produce mini apps or test apps, and they can be hosted on an application that comes with every laptop and every iPad that's produced in Botswana. And it's actually called the apps. The apps, they come with that. No, that's what we're trying to do to make it relevant. But we cannot lose the pre-required skills. You know, numeracy, adding and subtracting, multiplying, the STEM subjects, those are essential. You need to count your eggs if you're a farmer, you need to count your vegetables, you need to count your teeth if you're going to be a dentist or a health. So all these subjects are a requirement at a rudimentary level. Sure, we want inclusivity. So yes, like the President of Namibia said, we're also putting in ramps, particularly in the old buildings where there are no ramps. We've provided for screens in schools and classrooms which are bigger than your laptops for those who are visually challenged. We are providing for enhanced testing and resource mobilization for those who have hearing impairments, including language deficiencies or even a difficulty in accessing learning because their native mother tongue is not spoken. We're provided for teaching, particularly at early primary, in mother tongue instruction. Now, the challenge to you, young people, the kind of material that we would generate may be relevant to my generation. Why don't you write your own books? What are you doing? Why don't you develop your own applications when you're taught how to? Why don't you develop illustrations that make sense to you? Why don't you collaborate with your other children in countries like Namibia, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and learn more about their cultures and the way they run their societies, so you become a better diplomat when you become one? Why don't you learn about your neighborhood? Why don't you write about your neighborhood? Create the content. So I challenge you to create educational content that humanizes you in Africa, particularly. And you know what? You will never be competitive if you are learning from or based on a culture that's far removed from you. You start with your own, and you have a comparative advantage when you have your own. I know why I'm saying this. I know why I'm saying this. If you look at the amount of trade that takes place between and among African countries, Africa being the fastest growing continent, the youngest continent, the continent that is home to the biggest group of people with the longest opportunity of a future. The continent that has the most underdeveloped natural resources in the world. The continent that has the largest reserve of fertile land and fresh water than any other continent in the world. This is a huge opportunity. Yes, when you start, it's tough, but look at it for the long haul. So love your countries, love your home, love your fellow Africans, bind, work, understand each other, create content, and you are in for a good time. I wish I was a young person like you. The opportunities before us, we never saw in our time. Never did. So don't lose hope when we can't find the jobs right now, but be the solution to the problems that we have. And I tell you, you know, in Namibia, the president keeps telling me about green hydrogen. You know what green hydrogen is? Or go and find out if you don't know. You know, if you look at the sun rays and what you can do with them, if you look at the rare earth metals that we have in terms of capacity to develop clean energy, it's amazing. We are the solutions to tomorrow's problems. I want to end on this because I know you talked about isimongwaning, which means, you know, protect the child. We do a lot to try and protect the child. You mustn't compare children to cattle. Cattle don't think like children. And human beings shouldn't behave like cattle. So yes, there are certain ways in which you can intervene to prevent stock theft. You can't use the same methods to prevent assault on children because these are human beings. But we've increased that. In our police stations, we put in child-friendly centers and we're training our police force. We've amended our regulations. We put in a Sexual Offenders Registry Act so that those who sexually offend get tagged and registered. And these are innovations that are becoming about, you know, fairly recently. And we're committed to mounting this campaign. And you know, the First Lady's been all over the country about this Isimongwaning campaign. And I've been talking about the Arichenche means let us all change. But we invest a lot in you. A huge part of our budget doesn't go to education alone. A huge part goes to health. And you are responsible, increasingly as you grow, for your health. One of our biggest risks is HIV, still. We've done an awful lot with HIV in terms of the data and indicators. However, particularly your age group, 15 to 29, I mean, I know you're not 29, but in that adolescent group, in Botswana right now, in terms of the latest data, you represent the highest risk of a growing incidence rate, the rate at which you get infected, right? And that needs to be reversed because you need to be empowered, A, to say no to sex, no, completely no to sex, out of bounds, grow, study first, and then if ever sex were to come about at a later stage, you better know what you're doing. So learn about it. Learn about what to do to protect yourself. And then we can save you. And we'll, including a lot more, provided through either legislation or infrastructure development for embracing many more people. And finally, I want to talk about the opportunities that we present as presidents. Botswana and Namibia and Zimbabwe have diamonds. Beautiful diamonds. Botswana is a past chairman of the Kimberley process. Zimbabwe is the chairman of the Kimberley process. Zambia has a lot of copper, cobalt, and other minerals. What we need to do is to commit to making sure that we collaborate in developing an ecosystem for the beneficiation of all our natural resources. We need to share talent. We need to share talent. We each have unique expertise in that equation. We need to open up more and do it Who do we do it for, and why do we do it? For our children. When we raise more money, we would be able to spend more money on our children. So we're going to stop this exploitation. We need to converge. And on a very last note, I wish, dear fellow leaders, that we cement this collaboration, this partnership with children. We cement this alliance, and we start to develop indicators of success. So by the time we get to the 4th year, we can say between the 4 countries, or 5 or 10 if we had more, this was where we were, and this is where we are now. It's not enough. It's not enough for us to gather every year and have a little engagement and forget it for another 12 months and then come back and have an event. This is not an event, it's a process. So let us commit and resolve that we are going to develop indicators with, responsibilities for each, the children, the leaders, and the standard is measured. I thank you, and I wish you all the best of luck. Love you.
Thank you, Dr. Masisi. There seems to be a very competitive environment in Botswana. So now we are going to listen to Twiza from Zambia. She's going to present her case to all of us. And then Ms. Doreen, Honorable Doreen, she will be the one who would be responding to her. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Children, are we excited? Hi, everyone. Hi. Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi. Children, are we excited to be here? Yes. Parents, are you excited to be here? Yes. Are we sure? Yep. Children, I can't hear you. Are we excited? Yes. Okay, my name is Twiza Mulwada, and I'm from Zambia. Before I bend the bush and make the monkey suffer, I would allow me use this opportunity to thank our new Don government for introducing free education in Zambia from grade 1 to 12. Excellencies, the presidents of Botswana, Namibia, and Zimbabwe, Honorable Minister of Community Development and Social Services of Zambia, delegates, distinguished guests, allow me write on all the protocols observed. I am thrilled to be here today on the occasion of World Children's Day, representing Zambian children. This is our day, as it is the date when the Convention on the Rights of the Child was adopted. Allow me to refer to Article 12 of the Convention, which affirms the right of the child to express freely our views on matters affecting our lives. Today, we are gathered here to witness just that, the free expression of our views. So thank you so much for creating this platform for us children. When we can express ourselves, our voices are very powerful, and it is our hope that opportunities like this one we're having today will help us draw the attention to the matters we care about, such as good schools with adequate infrastructure and well-trained staff, protection from early marriage, child labor, and teen pregnancy, the need to mentor information and services, child-friendly and health care, as well as the right to an environment in which we can thrive free from the devastating effects of climate change. In the lead up to this event, the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services of Zambia, with UNICEF and partners, carried out consultations in all 10 provinces. About 1,000 children have been consulted and have spoken out. Meaningful participation of children is crucial. We have to be included in the decision-making process, including service and policy development in different areas of well-being. We demand gender equality. All children are to be treated equally. Both boys and girls are worth the same and should be given the same opportunities. And this also applies to children with disabilities. The rights of the children with disabilities must be realized. Inclusion, excellencies, this is what we need. A world without barriers where children with different abilities not only survive, but thrive. In terms of education, a lot has been done in our country with the Education for All policy. However, we still face challenges in terms of infrastructures and availability of textbooks, libraries, and recreational facilities. Many schools lack access to water and sanitation, and there is room to improve quality of learning. The good news is that we can play a role on this. We, the children of Zambia, want to be involved in shaping the curriculum because as learners, we must have a say. We request that climate change, mental health, and well-being is taught in schools. In the area of health, we demand to have access to information about mental health and service. We need child-friendly health services and facilities to provide free health care for all children. Also, we want to highlight our concern about drug and substance abuse, and we call for restrictions of bar opening hours and locations. Honorable Minister, we acknowledge the passing of the Children's Code Act, and we hope we all can join hands to ensure it is effectively implemented. Child marriage is still much rooted at community level. We are also affected by child labor and human trafficking. It is crucial that parents, community members, and leaders are sensitized about these issues. We also need information about where and how to report if something bad happens to us children. And the truth is that many things are happening to us children. About 20% of girls in Zambia experience sexual violence in childhood, and 52% of girls and women who experience violence never told anyone. Your ministry has done important efforts to alleviate poverty with programs like the social cash transfer. However, with the increase of the cost of living, vulnerable households are at risk. An increase in the value of social cash transfer could help them tremendously. Last but not the least, I want to say loud and clear today that climate change is a child rights crisis also in Zambia. We are calling for action right now and ask for meaningful participation in the development of climate change policies. The world that we know now is in danger. There is no planet B, so we need to work on solutions together. Children and adults need to be educated about climate change and about innovative solutions to cope with it. Distinguished guests, me and the children we represent are developing intellectually, emotionally, and in so many other ways. It is now the next generation of Zambia's leaders is forging. It is now we need your action. Please use your voices as leaders to influence key decisions that advance our rights in Zambia. Thank you so much.
Louisa, thank you very much. She's calling for an inclusion discussion for them to be part of the decision. Ms. Doreen.
Thank you. Thank you, moderator, Your Excellency, the hosts, Dr. Gingo, Your Excellency, Dr. Masisi, Botswanan President, the Vice President of Zimbabwe, the Regional Director, UNICEF, the Governor of WALVIS Bay, all ministers present, government officials present, our colleagues, the media, ladies and gentlemen, our dear children, good evening. I'm standing in for His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, who has traveled for other engagements. Your Excellencies, Vice President, I attended the first session or the first engagement in Kazungula, hosted by Dr. Masisi in 2021. And I attended the last year's session, which was held in Lusaka, and I am pleased to see the commitment, the passion from our four presidents. Hello? I said I'm pleased to see the commitment, the passion, the zeal by our four presidents. And I say to our children, the children of Africa, that you are indeed lucky. But before I answer to the questions, I also want to say thank you to the Goodwill Ambassador for UNICEF for Children, Madam Yvonne Shakashaka, and thank you for making our children so happy with your beautiful songs. For us in Zambia, it has been a long journey. We came into office in September 2021. In November 2021, we were here. When we came, Your Excellency, to attend the World Children's Day in Botswana, we didn't even have a law that protects and promotes children's rights in the country. So very quickly, under my ministry, we made sure that a law was enacted to protect and promote our children's rights. The Children's Code Act, number 12 of 2022, was enacted. Within 6 months of forming government, Your Excellencies, Vice President, after the enactment of the Children's Code Act, then we came to the realization that the judicial system was not ready. So we had to work with the judiciary to make sure that children-friendly courts were opened, the juvenile courts. And juvenile courts came with juvenile judges. So we are moving very quickly, as you can hear. And now we are looking at the safeguarding of our children. What does safeguarding mean? Safeguarding literally means that to protect children from any danger or from any harm. So all these safeguarding policies and frameworks have been translated in the 7 local languages, the 7 main local languages in the country. I'm glad my child from Zambia mentioned that we consulted before coming here. We consulted widely in all the 10 provinces of Zambia. We wanted to hear the views of our children. We wanted to know what is it that their children themselves want us leaders to do. And Your Excellencies, they presented very realistic. Realistic concerns and demands. I'll start with education. Last year we recruited over 30,000 school teachers, and this year we are recruiting more. The ratio of pupil teacher, the pupil teacher ratio was very high. In 2021, early 2022, we would find that a teacher was teaching 100 pupils to 150 pupils. But with the increase of the recruitment of teachers, we are narrowing the gap. That means that our education will be enhanced. There will be quality education, the motivation of both the learners and the teachers, and the teacher will have more time to spend with the pupils and also get to know them. And at the same time, in the budget of 2022, 2023, and 2024, which we are discussing in Parliament now, we have increased the Constituency Development Fund. This fund is used, one, to build more schools, classrooms for children, ablution facilities in the schools, to make sure there is clean, safe water for the learners, and also to build accommodation for teachers as a way of even enticing those teachers to go and teach in rural areas. Your Excellencies, under health, yes, last year we recruited over 11,000 health workers. Now we are in the process of recruiting more health workers so that we provide healthy institutions to our learners. And also we have enhanced the purchase of medicines in all hospitals and clinics in Zambia. At the same time, we are recruiting more police officers. And police officers are being taught child-friendly procedures. Under the Ministry of Community Development, we have also got inspectors that we are recruiting to help us police children in our communities and also in schools. Your Excellencies, when we enacted the Children's Code Act and we looked at the punishment of children who come in contact and in conflict with the law, we saw that the incarceration was not really helping our African children. So we decided to have an alternative to incarceration, which we are calling diversion. Diversion is where you keep the young offender who has come into conflict or in contact with the law at home, in their homes, and they are monitored by social workers, inspectors, and also the newly recruited police officers who know how to handle children offenders. So in a nutshell, that is how we are moving, and this is where we are taking the country to. Your Excellencies, at every step, we involve children. When we were enacting the Children's Code Act, again, we held wide consultations in schools, in communities, in churches, with elders and children. So they own the Children's Code Act. They participated in the formulation, and even when it was being enacted, they were invited to Parliament. So at no step have we left our children behind. Now, we are struggling with the issue of persons with disabilities. Zambia has a population of 19.5 million citizens. Over 2 million young people are persons with disabilities. So yes, indeed, we have a challenge with assistive devices. We have a challenge with learning materials. And we are now putting ramps and other facilities in newly built schools. So we have a long way to go, but we are working together with our children. And I'm glad that the Children's Welfare Department was moved from the Youth and Sports Ministry to the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, where the mothers are. We understand that children issues cannot be in isolation from their parents. In Zambia, most of our people are poor and vulnerable. And my ministry is mandated to facilitate and implement all social protection programs in the country. So we do identify poor, vulnerable people through community workers, and we put them on social cash transfer, a program that gives cash to poor and vulnerable households. Apart from the social cash transfer, we also identify poor, vulnerable, but viable farmers and put them on a program called Food Security Pack. This is a program where we give farming inputs and seed technical support to poor families to enhance food security at household level, and therefore develop and enhance the nutrition of our children. Then apart from that, we also identify poor, vulnerable women who can engage in business or who want to learn skills. Under my ministry, we send them for skills training, we send them financial literacy learning, and after that, we empower them with small grants of cash, and we also give them small animals such as goats and chickens to rear and make sure that their homes have got a balanced diet and they are able to send their children to school. Your Excellency, last year we developed another program, the 1,000 Critical Days. We did realize that most of our young learners have difficulties in learning. So this is a program where we are identifying again poor, vulnerable households with school-going children, and we give them extra cash in form of emergency social cash transfer to help them mitigate the food crisis in their homes so that their children can learn properly in school. So under my ministry, there are all these programs that we roll out to families to help us have a healthy and an educated, a very educated society for the sake of our children. And our children who are living with various disabilities, we have identified them, categorized them, and this year during the International International Day for Persons with Disabilities, we'll be giving out various assistive devices to young learners as a way of appreciating our children with disabilities. So indeed, you can see that we are inclusive in all our programs for our people and especially for our children. But I want to say here to the children that once indeed we are formulating and implementing all these laws for our children, it does not give them power over their parents. Remember, my children, that we are Africans. We need to have respect for elders. We need to have respect for our parents. We need to appreciate our parents. And I am glad that I sat here and I listened attentively to my daughter who spoke from Botswana and my son from Namibia. They started by appreciating what their respective countries are offering. This is Ubuntu. This is African. Children must be grateful. And indeed, Africa is not a developed continent. We are doing all we can to provide for you. So let's move together. Let's work together for us to move quickly. Tell us what your problems are. His Excellency, the President of Namibia, did say that we get confused. On one hand, you say you are the future leaders. Then when you call us, you demand that you are the leaders. So what is it that, where should we place you? So it is in this vein that I am asking you, our children, to join hands with us, your parents, your leaders, so we can move together and move together very quickly. Indeed, His Excellency, the President of Botswana, Dr. Masisi, has been emphatic about enlarging the circle. He still feels strongly that more leaders should come on board so that together Africa can develop. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Doreen, for the encouragement and advice. I'm now moving on to Zimbabwe. I want to call Neville, not the governor. Neville seated next to the Vice President.
Good evening, everyone. So, children, since we are excited to be here, when I say nothing for us, please shout without us. Nothing for us.
Without us.
Please shout louder. Nothing for us.
Without us.
Distinguished heads of state, Your Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob, President of the Republic of Namibia, Your Excellency Dr. MOKGWEETSI Eric Kiabetswe Masisi, President of the Republic of Botswana, the Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, retired Colonel Comrade Kembo Dugish Campbell Moadi, the President of the Republic of Zambia, here represented by the Minister of Community Development and Social Services, Honorable Doreen Mwamba, Miss Eva Kadili, UNICEF Regional Director, Eastern and Southern African Region, the Honorable Cabinet Ministers here present, the United Nations family, government officials here present, esteemed guests, fellow children of Africa, ladies and gentlemen. On this remarkable World Children's Day, I stand before you as the Child President of Zimbabwe to express my heartfelt gratitude to the heads of state for taking time to celebrate with us the World Children's Day. Please help me to thank these heads of state. Our gratitude also goes to the government of Namibia, who is hosting us today. Allow me to also congratulate and thank the heads of state here present for recognizing the importance of including children in decision-making processes. By providing us with a seat at the table through junior parliaments, junior councils, and child-led groups, you have shown that our voices matter and our perspectives are valued. Your Excellencies, the Honorable Vice President, the Honorable Minister, this annual and yet unique platform not only serves to celebrate the World Children's Day, but provides us an opportunity to network, share experiences, ideas, and opportunities as children. It does not only provide the above unique opportunities, but also through our interaction, Through our interaction, it has revealed to me that we are one people with more that must unite us than the borders that separate us. Ladies and gentlemen, children's rights are not just words on paper. They are the foundation upon which our communities should be built, renewed, and as such, we must ensure that every child enjoys their right to survival, development, protection, and participation without any discrimination. In Zimbabwe, we are provided with great opportunities to meet His Excellency religiously once a year, at the occasion of the official opening of the Junior Parliament, and as often it is possible and necessary on other occasions. We also have a permanent slot at the pre-budget seminar which takes place every year at our Zimbabwean Parliament. So please also help me to thank all Zimbabweans and the Zimbabwean government for providing us with this seat at the Parliament. At this pre-budget seminar, we are allowed to present on children's priorities on the next year's budget. Now, realization of children's rights must come with commitment by government. The cabinet, caucuses, and committees of parliament are home to our concerns, and we are grateful and proud to share with the world the great work the government of Zimbabwe is doing for children under the leadership of His Excellency, the President of Zimbabwe. I lobby that where each country has realized and achieved a milestone for children, the others must yearn to learn and follow suit. We are here to learn, we are here to share, and we are here to grow. As child representatives, it is our duty to advocate for the rights and well-being of all children, especially those who are vulnerable and marginalized. We must pay special attention to the problems facing these children and ensure that their voices are heard loud and clear. Together, we can build a society where no child is left behind. My president always says that we should leave no one and no place behind. For this year's celebration of World Children's Day, we, the children of Zimbabwe, are focusing on 3 key issues that came out as priorities from the consultations that we had in all the 10 Zimbabwean provinces. We believe that the issues impact the daily lives of children. Firstly, there is need to promote the rights of every child without discrimination, especially children living with disabilities, as clearly stated in the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Secondly, we must ensure access to quality education inspired by the 2024 African Union Year of Education. Education is the key to unlocking our full potential. It equips us and it empowers us with the knowledge and skills that we need to make progress. The Zimbabwean government has made progress by making sure that more than 90% of children in Zimbabwe are enrolled in primary schools. Therefore, the 10% of children out of primary school, of whom a good size are vulnerable children, including those with disabilities, must be put back in school. Thirdly, as the COP28 summit beckons our third priority, our third priority is climate change. What used to be a foreign and far-off phenomenon is now at our backyard. We know the disasters in our region. We know the disasters that our region has suffered due to climate change. We cannot ignore that any longer. When we conducted consultations, children highlighted concerns on climate change and how little they feel informed about this issue. Climate change demands our attention. While children are the most affected by climate change, we are often excluded from the climate change dialogues. Children want to be actors of change activities in their own communities. We want to learn more about climate change and develop the skills to adapt, to contribute, and to create a greener and better world for future generations and for us too. Ladies and gentlemen, the Children's Parliament has taught me that children must not just be recipients of government programs, but active agents of change too. As children, we can help promote the rights of children in creating more awareness on children's rights and highlighting issues that children in our countries are particularly concerned about, including early pregnancies, drug and substance abuse, the discrimination towards children with disabilities, and school dropouts. We must be catalysts that by our actions and examples influence our peers to change their behaviors for the better. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to thank the Zimbabwean government for introducing Education 5.0. It has added, in addition to the 3 pillars that were in the Education 3.0, it has added industrialization and innovation. Firstly, allow me to credit one of my very own, the Vice President of the Children's Parliament. He managed to create a smart walking stick which automatically senses danger for the visually impaired, automatically. And Your Excellencies, let me take this as an opportunity to market my country to you. We want to see the smart walking stick in Botswana, in Namibia, and in Zambia too. Your Excellencies, Honorable Vice President, Honorable Minister, esteemed guests, fellow children, in conclusion, I thank each one of you for your commitment to the well-being and the rights of children. Let us continue working together, hand in hand, to create a world where every child can flourish, regardless of their circumstances. See you in Zimbabwe next year. I hope you'll be able to make it. Thank you, and happy World Children's Day.
Thank you very much, Neville. We are now going to give His Excellency Deputy President Muhadi a chance.
Thank you very much, moderator. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Namibia, Dr. Gengo. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Botswana, Comrade MASISI. Honorable Minister, representing the President of Zambia, Madame Doreen. The UNICEF representative here present, and the UNICEF ambassador, Comrade Yvonne Shagashaka. The governor of Walvis Bay, members of the diplomatic corps, if there are any, honorable ministers, other dignitaries, and our esteemed VIPs, the children. It gives me a great pleasure to be amongst you today. I would like to, from the onset, to say that Zimbabwe is a signatory to the UN Convention that has got to do with the rights of children. All the rights of children that are enshrined in that convention, Zimbabwe has adhered to and has ratified them. Your Excellencies, let me start with education because it is the in thing. Everyone has talked about education. We in Zimbabwe, at the onset of our independence, we declared that education was going to be free up to tertiary level, to secondary level. And that we did. We did so because we wanted to create a human resource, a resource that we could use in the future. As I'm talking to you, the education system in Zimbabwe is such that every child has got the right to education. It is compulsory that each and every kid or child goes to school. And we have made it a point that they should not be traveling, if it is in the rural areas, they should not be walking more than 5 kilometers to a school. So we have built quite a lot of schools to reduce the distance in between. We have also realized that there shouldn't be any disparities between those kids that are in the urban area and those that are in the rural areas. So we have introduced e-learning. We have introduced computers in each and every school in the rural areas, and we have also electrified most of the schools there so that they can access internet. Your Excellencies, having said that, I would like to go a little bit deeper into what he said. After having done that, and Zimbabwe, by the way, is about 98% literate. There are very few, about 2%. It's only about 2% that can't read or write. The rest of the people in Zimbabwe are literate. After having seen what we have done, we realized that the education we were giving our people was not giving us the desired results. So we introduced education that's 5.0, which has got to do with innovation. We teach innovation, we encourage innovation. And all our tertiary institutions, all our universities have got hubs, what we call hubs, where they innovate and where they create things. We did so because we would not want to churn out graduates that when leaving the university, they go and look for employment. We want them to create employment. I'll give you an example of two things that happened, which maybe you might take home. During COVID, Zimbabwe, as you all know, is under sanctions. We had problems of actually getting the currencies to get things that we wanted for COVID, especially the inventors. Is it? Yes. Those that actually assisted people get the oxygen. We tried to source from friends, but each and every individual world over was busy trying to get all these gadgets. So we said to our universities, can we get our own inventor? Within a very short space of time, they had come out with our own brand, Zimbabwean brand inventor. So that's the result of Education 0.50. We also during that time we had a problem of getting the oxygen for our patients. We could not get it from anywhere. We always maybe at the back of everyone else, those that were queuing for the same. So we approached our graduates and say, can't we have our own? And within a very short space of time, Verify Engineering came out with the oxygen. And we are now exporting some of it because we have just got plenty of it. This is the education that we are giving our people now. We talked about employment in Zimbabwe. Yes, like any other country, any developing country or third world country, we have got problems with employment. But we have realized that we are not going to allow ourselves to be a nation of the employed. We had to employ people. So what we have embarked on now is that everything that we do in Zimbabwe, everything that we do in Zimbabwe, be it minerals and all the like or agricultural produce, we beneficiate them. We don't allow them to be exported in raw form. So in beneficiating, we are creating employment. And we are now seized with what many people call reverse engineering. Some of the items that we get from other countries or some of the products that we get from other countries, we end up doing some reverse engineering so that we can produce our own. I'm saying this because someone has said that we need, as Africans or as the region, to stand on our own, to have our own things. And so the education that we give our children, we need to make sure that it actually brings something on the ground. We also, through the education that we have managed to turn around quite a lot of things. We are now food secure because of the education that we have. That is in terms of grain and in terms of maize and in terms of wheat. We haven't been importing anything of that sort for the last 3 years. This is all because of education point zero. Your Excellencies, children have the right, but they don't have the absolute right. We are Africans. There are certain things that they should not do. She talked about Ubuntu. That is what we are. That is what is African. But we are going to allow you to do everything that you say we should do. We are going to do it. In Zimbabwe, because we always think that it is better to interact with the youth all the time. So we came out with an idea of the junior parliament. And this junior parliament also mirrors the ministers of government. And there are times that they take the ministers to task on areas where they think that there are shortcomings. It is, that's why he says he's the president, so he's my president. So the day they have their parliament, junior parliament, we salute him. We refer to him as His Excellency. So we do all this in order to bring the children on board. We have also done taken some steps to protect the child. Because we can't just give them rights without protecting them. We must protect them from the drugs and other substances that harm their health. So children need to be protected. We have also protected them. We have got legislation to that effect from sexual harassment, from rape and other things. And we have made it mandatory sentences of 15 years if you rape a child. Initially, we had said that the age of consent would be 16 years. But we then looked at it again and said, no, this is not enough. The majority age is 18. Why doesn't the age of consent become 18? So it is now 18. All this is in a bid to protect the child, especially the girl child. Your Excellencies, I want to concur with you that this body needs to expand. We need to bring other people on board so that Africa becomes united. The unity that this has developed, has fostered amongst the children and ourselves as the leaders of these 4 countries is something that we would want to see happening regionally. I'm happy to say that in Zimbabwe, we also look after the health of our children. They don't have to pay for anything when they go for medical for medical issues. Your Excellencies, I'm so thrilled, I'm so happy to see so many children from